Hello, all, and welcome this morning. My name is Rachel Jones, and I am a part of Newman and Tucker Insurance. And I do commercial producing of insurance lines. And so today, though, I'm excited to have John Eli with us. And John is the founder and president of Veterans Outreach. John, can you give us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, you already presented that I'm president and founder of Veterans Outreach. That happened in '94 when I actually registered a charity that was going to help veterans, basically homeless veterans at the time. And how that all came about was I was working with a company that actually sent me to San Francisco for a auto convention, basically auto parts for aftermarket automobile parts. And it was only a 3-day event, which changed my life forever. And that was in '93. And so when I went there, I was really like all, bug eyes and so forth, and the trolley. But unfortunately, when I was going up and down trying to get on the trolley, I saw hundreds of people standing alongside the buildings or laying beside the buildings with signs of desperation and wanting help with food and jobs and money. And I just couldn't believe it. And I was like in shock, really. And I started thinking, how the heck did they get in that position? And I just went ahead and bothered me all day as I went to the convention doing my job. And while all my party was having a party in the evening, I decided to go out and visit with them and try to get a story. And so I did. And at night, I would go out. And a total of over 3 nights, I met with 8 poor little folks that were out there withering away. And I just sat down on the curb with them and wanted to hear their story. 6 of them were veterans. And I just kind of like blew up. I just said, how could our government allow this to happen to our own veterans, our heroes of freedom? And I got the 6 stories and just embroiled me. And I called the mayor several times. And he says there was just no money, no resources to help our veterans, and the homeless especially. There had to be thousands there at the time. And I'm sure it's grown like crazy since '93. So, I mean, over the last year, the next year, I finally had some situations going on with where I was working, and I quit them, and I decided to start working on a program to help homeless veterans. And somebody said out of New York, they were helping veterans that were homeless also. And I talked to them and they told me about the registering for a 501c3 and so forth. Mm-hmm. And that's how I started. I had no knowledge about what a nonprofit was. I just know one thing. I wanted to be able to take care of our homeless veterans. And that's how it started. And of course, it evolved time and time, getting a board of directors together, making contacts with politicians, other vet groups. And the sources that I developed over the years have actually molded our program and developed it into the organizational thing that we have going on right now to help all veterans that walk in that need help immediately. And that's what we do, from everything that's possibly that they need. We do a personal interview with everyone, and they let us know what is their most immediate needs, and we help them, no matter if they're in the local area or across one of our states that we're registered in. And right now we're in 6 states and registering soon our 7th state, which is Tennessee.
That's exciting.
So, yeah, it is, but I need a lot more people, right? Because I would like, with me being on the LinkedIn and working it since 2012, I think that's when they started up. But with about 22,000 followers, I'm getting calls from all over the United States now, people wanting to open up an office. Basically veterans too, from Navy SEALs, retired Navy SEALs, and all kind of folks. And I just need some more people, even folks that want to come in and have develop an office in their own region. And I'm willing to do that. Like the guy in Tennessee, 75-year-old Vietnam veteran. And he says, I really want to do something for my veterans. Yeah. He says, I'm still in good shape. And I'd love to open up an office for you here. So they give me a letter of interest, and now we're registering the state.
That's great. I was so excited to talk to you because I shared with you my grandpa's Army, my dad is Navy, and there's a lot of veterans in my life. And so I think what you're doing is really needed in our community because people don't even know the resources that are out there, and it's so difficult to get them, especially when you might have some trauma or PTSD or you don't have the support system to come home to. What changes have you seen over the 28 years or the 31 years of you doing this that have changed to where veterans are needing maybe different help than they were 30 years ago, or they're getting more resources now? What has changed in the landscape for you?
There has been a lot of changes. Folks are getting more aware of the other organizations that are out there. Then they're popping up all over the place. And then, of course, with us continually the march of getting our name out there nationwide, matter of fact. And like, for instance, we get donations from all over the United States, just out of the clear blue. And because they're learning about us and understanding, our mission and direction. And we're also accepting something called legacy gifts, and which we'd never even thought of before. But now with my wife, that she's the executive director for the last 28 years. And she knew that I needed some help. But we had 3 young kids there too, you're talking like 2, 4, and 6. And that was a big job in itself. But in the meantime, I had to continue with my onslaught of turning over the next rocks to find some funding and to help people in every which way that I could. When I was presented with a problem with an individual and a soldier, then I would jump into it, even driving them down to the VA, staying with them till they got admitted because their PTSD was off the charts, and they probably were suffering from alcoholism or drug problems. And so I started the caring problem all by my lonesome until I started building up people with me and developing a team.
So can you share how the support that you offer is maybe different than other organizations or different than the VA?
The VA actually works with us very, very tightly. They give us a call when they need help with a veteran because they might have somebody that comes into them that needs a place to stay, for instance. And the VA does have something called the VASH program, but they can't orchestrate it for 2 weeks, bureaucratic red tape. And so in the meantime, just like somebody out of Columbus and Cincinnati over the weekend, we get a call from them or maybe the mayor or the police chief or whatever, VA, and we help them immediately. We get them a place to stay, at least for those next 2 weeks. Now, we have had them in there for a lot longer, but that's just one of those things that we've done. Matter of fact, with this one gentleman that we helped that had brain cancer, and he came in for a long time with us, and we helped him out best way we can, and his brain cancer went into remission.
Oh, that's great.
And so he started donating back to us.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, he has this one lady that's blind, and she comes in on a wheelchair, and he's pushing the wheelchair, and he reaches down to her after he gets her in the office, and he says, "These people will help you." And so, of course, we didn't know what it was that she needed until she said that she needed to get to Columbus to get adjusted to her new seeing eye doctor. So we made a deal and got her a place to stay, a Holiday Inn for like 2 weeks till she got adjusted with a new seeing eye dog. Stuff like that. Well, you never know what's going to come through the door. But what you want to do is be able to come and jump to and address their needs. And that's why we're different than everybody else. We help immediately.
That's such a huge need. I love that you guys are coming up with ways to help them creatively and immediately. I know I was just getting ready to ask for a story from a veteran that you helped. So I know you just had one, but do you have somebody that really over the years of you doing this has stood out in your mind of, wow, that was such a big change and a big impact for them?
Well, that one was, I mean, we got the lady to be able to get around with a seeing eye dog. That was one of my favorites. Another one was where this gentleman came in also in a wheelchair with a friend of his. And he said his scooter went down, broke, damaged, can't even be repaired. Lucky enough, we had one donated to us just a week prior.
That's great.
And so we got make sure it was running and got him in there and put a big flag on the end that we had set up there, about a 3-foot flag attached to it. And he got in that scooter. We had a kind of a big parking lot, and he started running around in the parking lot, probably about 30 minutes, just running around, go whoopee whoopee, yeah, I can go. It was Independence Day,
That's amazing.
4th of July. And there were stories ran on it and TV articles and so forth. And it just made you cry that you could do stuff like that. Oh, just, I got to back up on that seeing eye dog thing.
Mhm.
There was a gentleman that worked for us right up to his 99th, well, past his 99th birthday. And he passed away 2 years ago. He was like a second dad to me. And in the beginning, he's with us for 23 years out of the Columbus regions, named Crazy Joe. And I even have a big poster of Crazy Joe. He actually opened up for Bob Hope, Helen Reddy, Bing Cosby, big stars on USO tours. And he was on a World War II minesweeper during the Normandy invasion. If it wasn't him, the invasion couldn't happen because he was cleaning out the mines.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's a short story on him. And so he was out there. He really didn't know what we all did yet and the early goings on. And one time he thought, well, this one lady said, do you help with seeing eye dogs? And he said, well, sure. And which we don't. And so anyways, she wrote out a $500 check
Okay.
for seeing eye dog. And that was about 2 weeks before, and Terry didn't know what to do with it. She said, well, he can't put that in Vegas for seeing eye dog. And I said, just hold on to it and see what happens. So that's just, because God would have it. This lady comes in, needs a hotel, and then we had a chance to use all those funds to get her a place for her seeing eye dog.
That's
So
amazing.
that's another story. Yeah, that's just the way God works for us. And thank goodness that we've developed in the mornings when all of our employees get in our one building, we have about 30, 35 people that come in to work for us or volunteer for all the departments we have. And Terry starts off the day with a prayer circle. And we have like a pastor that works for us, and he orchestrates the prayer circle. We do the American Legion, the Pledge of Allegiance, the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem, and then the prayer. And then we go around the circle, and then we have everybody offer prayers up to God on helping a veteran or somebody personal to them. And that's what we do for about 15 minutes. And honest to goodness, Rachel, people have a stronger step in their day, just to spring to their step, just because they got lifted in the morning. And it's like a hit of caffeine, if you will. But I mean, everybody has each other's back. And I think every corporation should do that. Get everybody together and have a thing that they do and look forward each and every morning. And that's what we've done, all by Terry's direction of keeping God in place with our program.
Yeah.
So
I also think that makes everybody, from your culture standpoint, really feel a part of the organization and the mission, and gives them a renewed sense of purpose every morning. I love that you guys do that.
exactly what we do is right. And I mean, just like Crazy Joe, with us for 23 years. 23 years. And we have a lot of people that have been here for 20 years. So yeah, they attach it, and they work to the day they die in a lot of cases. We have a lot of stories that way too.
So if we have somebody that's watching that is wanting to make a meaningful impact in the lives of veterans, what's the first step that you would suggest that they do?
Wow. For one thing, I like before, like some of the people that you sent me to see about how they can get involved in Veterans Outreach is to study us, to make a small donation. And when somebody gets on our website, and there's a place for donations, and they can actually make a one-time donation, or they can make a monthly donation. It could be $5, $10, $50 a month, and that's what we're trying to build on, is a constant flow of funding so we can work more on our direction of our mission than needing the funding. And that's what I'm trying to do, especially with what's coming up again. And I don't want to get ahead of the story and all that, but my Grayson office, I've been there since 2002 in Kentucky. And this one guy, good old boy from Kentucky, Roger, and he's just doing the volunteer work in our food pantry. And he says, calls me up and he says, Johnny, I got something to talk to you about. I said, okay, what is it? He said, well, I've had 110 acres. My dad actually bought 1920. And my kids don't want it. They're both girls. They're in the medical field. They just don't want to be bothered with it. And I just wanted to know if you could help our veterans if I donated it to you and the Veterans Outreach. And I said, well, let me think about that. And so I did. And so he turned it over to us. And that was back in 2017. And over a 3-year period, I tried to build up support on my idea of helping veterans long term and for the rest of their life. And I always say giving their life back is probably the biggest way that I can help veterans instead of temporary. And I didn't like the temporary thing. I don't want to help somebody just one time and that's it. And they fall in the same pit that they were in when they came to me or came to us. And I was just really taken back at first for the donation. I was like, sticker shock, right? And so I developed something probably a little bit too elaborate, but I just felt it would help out. And it's called Heroes Passage, a retreat for veterans on 110 acres by Morehead State University. And what I did is I came up with the idea. There's a lot of negotiation between my board and other folks, politicians, to structure it properly. And the thing is, it's a dynamic piece of property, 1,100 feet on the periphery of the property, and it dropped down to 900 feet. So it's a 200-foot drop to the center where I'm putting a 5-acre lake. But it was a perfect way to get veterans to come in for a couple of months to help them vet them through this program. They'd have their own cabin and everything. And that we'd have our core facility there for, that would actually help them with the other nonprofits that would be on base there to help them with their PTSD, BMI, or drug and alcohol problems that might ensue after their service. And it was really disastrous. And some people, well, you know about the committing suicide, and we talk to a lot of people that want to do that. And so we could actually absolve or retreat some of those feelings just by caring about them, getting them in a place, in a good, happy place, so to speak, and then introduce them into the Department of Agriculture's many industries that they have going on. And I've already was talking to the second man from the top on developing various things like pisciculture and all different kinds of agricultural programs. And like the bee farms. The Morehead State University got a grant to help us develop, those bee farms for us as well. And it was just just amazing what we were doing at that time. But it was 4 years in the making. And then, of course, when the pandemic struck, the grants and everything that I had coming in, including a $1 million grant just for the infrastructure, it was time sensitive. And the pandemic was over 2 years, and everybody went home. The colleges, nobody was, all those folks that I built over the years went bye-bye, right up to the governor's office and those attachments. So in the meantime, I'm building up some steam to get back on there. And if anybody's looking to really make a difference with our project called Heroes Passage, you can see an article on that on my website called veteransoutreach.org. You'll get a lot of information about some of our mission and our sites and where we want to go. If you have any interest whatsoever in getting involved to help our veterans in so many ways, but my big mission of accomplishment is to develop my Heroes Passage program. And back when I was wanting to develop it, it was probably about a $50 million project. So there's going to be a lot of work and need, and some folks that have a lot more intelligence than I do. I'm just a dreamer of this program.
Well, visionary. That's how the world moves, is by having somebody who has a vision and than people that get excited about that vision. And we will have your website in the description as well. But one of the things I think that's beautiful about this is you have people who understand where you've been. And I think when veterans come home, they might be around family or friends who just don't understand the trauma or the things that they're dealing with, and it's very isolating and lonely. And so what you're offering with this retreat is the chance for community and people who understand you. And that, I think, in itself is just beautiful.
Well, I didn't say this in the beginning, but I'm not a veteran. A lot of people are kind of surprised that I'm not a veteran. And my dad was founder of the Pearl Harbor Survivor Association, and he had a photographic memory. So you can imagine what he put me through just growing up and understanding his story. He was a paramedic, and his own barracks got first bombed, Hickam Field, and he was outside on the porch vomiting because of his cucumber salad that he had the night before, which saved his life. Wow. And so, I mean, he got injured. He got in his truck, trying to run away from the Zeros that was actually following him and strapped him twice. And so actually, when he dropped into a crater that just had a bomb, it was on fire. He got burned pretty bad. And then his commanding officer came in, got him out of the truck and wrapped him up, and then said, "Look, I know you're in pain. There's some morphine or whatever." And they said, "You just got to leave the dead lie and go help, the living, the wounded, get them to the hospital." And I mean, 4 days and nights he stayed up. The adrenaline was just unbelievable. If you can imagine what those guys went through, like any war scene, right. But this was pretty prolific. And so my dad went through that. And so the second issue of my life is when my brother at 17 went in to the military and actually was a Vietnam veteran. Mm-hmm. And so he went ahead and got into the war and became a paratrooper for the 101 Screaming Eagles. Jumped in the jungle as it was sprayed with Agent Orange, and that's where he died from. Agent Orange poisoning 2 years ago. Finally, it's just amazing, that product that they put on the trees to defoliate them, and you're going to allow human beings to jump into it after the spraying. Nuts. Just pathetic how we were treated. I mean, human beings by our government at that time, and they were like, disposable. I mean, they don't want them to be that way, but we lost. Just in Vietnam was 58,000 people. 58,000 people. Now, of course, World War II, my dad was part of that, of course, and there was about 558,000, so about 10 times that size. So there's always casualties in war. And so I just, I know that Veterans Outreach has a big mission to continue on after we're gone, Terry and I, to continue. So there's always going to be war. There's always going to be conflicts. And we want to be at the behest of our soldiers coming back. When they need us, I want us to be there.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for joining me today. As we wrap up, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you want to share with our audience?
Please, if you're interested at all in helping our veterans, just go to our website, veteransoutreach.org. Send me a note that you might be interested in helping out some way, somehow. If you want to open up a regional office or just get involved as an employee, volunteer, you want to make a cash donation, a car donation, we even take, just let me know and let us know how we better can get you involved where you are part of our mission, serving and honoring our veterans.
Well, thank you so much for joining and sharing with me today. I really appreciate it.
Rachel, I appreciate you, and thank you so much. I'm hoping to be able to talk with you again later for updates.
Sounds great. Well, everybody have a lovely rest of your